So I've just hit begin streaming again. Let's see if it actually is streaming. It's actually streaming. One of these days I'll actually learn how to use all this stuff. It's going into the VAB here. So it says offline there. Now it's coming back online. Awesome. Let's refresh the old monitoring computer over here. Survey says... Well, that is not what I said at all. Log in. Why does it not think that I'm logged in? That's dumb. Let me take care of the channel name here right quick, ladies and gentlemen, and then I will get to building this moon lander. I think I have a cool idea. I think that I have a cool idea. I think I'm gonna pull out my headphone again. One of these days I'll be able to afford a a headphone that is not wired. Alright, so now I'm logged in. Now I'm going to edit the channel so people know what it is we were doing here. Kerbal Space Academy. And this is going to be Moon Landing 201. Done. That changed the title. That's a concept I can get behind. Back. In action. To the chat. What is this? What is... Now it doesn't think that I'm blind in here. Alright. Technical difficulties with old DOS. All easy here. I do not understand why it's not letting me in the chat. And it's not letting me change the channel name. Oh, buddy. Hey, at least it's up over there. Let me see if I can change it from here. It says direct orbital rendezvous. What I actually wanted to say is Moon Landing 201. Save. Did that work? Anybody tell me what they see the channel title is right now? Wow, no matter what I do, it will not let me change the channel title. That is completely annoying. Huh. Well, at some point I'm just going to start launching rockets and not actually worry about what the freaking name of the channel is. Let me try one more thing. Let's see. What's the challenge? I might have missed that. I've been refreshing my chat here. I think what I'm going to do is build a 2-stage shenanigan that goes to the moon and re-enters as a flight craft. So it'll be not a space plane. Let's see. What's the challenge? I might have missed that. I've been refreshing my chat here. Back into my, I think what I'm going to do is build a Quiet, Valdez. Let's see if it lets me fix it from here. Moon landing. Done. That acts like it's fine. Thank you, Windows, for your vigilance, but I do not want you to restart in 30 minutes. 4 hours. If I stream for more than 4 hours, that's going to be a problem. Alright. Now we've got it edited. Looks like the channel's good. Looks like the chat's good. I think we're all good to go. Yeah, with all the stuff that I was just doing, it probably had to take time to rebuffer and that sort of stuff, but it should get back to being a stable stream here in just a second. I only have so much bandwidth on my end here, so let's see here. I'm going to try and refresh one more time, and then I think we're going to be good to go. Yeah, I don't understand what's going on there. Shut that ridiculousness down. Okay, let's get the show on the road here. It's one thing for me to be debugging my Twitch stream since I'm a freaking complete noob at doing it. It's a totally different thing to actually do interesting things like moon landings. So, I think here's what we're going to do, and we're going to see if we can do this. We're going to make a craft, a smaller craft, that is 2 parts. It's got a little, it's got kind of call it the service module, like the Apollo programs had. So the service command module is going to stay in orbit around the moon. It's going to have wings, and it's going to be what they use to re-enter Kerbin. There's going to be a smaller lander that's going to take one Kerbal down to the surface, and they'll all travel to the moon. They'll orbit the moon. One Kerbal will go down, land, plant a flag, get a rock, hop back in, fly back up and rendezvous with the command service module again, and then the command module will return to Kerbin and deorbit, attempting to land on the KSC runway. So that way I think we get a couple different things here. We're going to get the moon trip. We're going to have a regular little moon lander. It's not going to have wings or anything wacky like that. It's going to be a out-of-the-box kind of basic moon lander that you could replicate for yourself. But we're also going to have a little bit of interesting stuff with it, namely, I'm not going to call it a space plane. It's almost like a re-entry glider. So we're going to have some sort of somewhat powered device to help us come back down and land at Kerbal Space Center. And we will see how we can do that. I think that that's going to be pretty cool. I've said that it's going to be more than one Kerbal. Let's do this. RCS build data. We're going to call this rescue. RCS build data rescue. Save. All right, new ship. So let's get started with the service module and the lander. How can we do that? We have a couple different options. We could make it so that the lander is about the same weight as the re-entry glider. That would be one option. I don't like that option as much, because I'd really like to leave the lander in orbit around Kerbin, or around the moon. Maybe we make it so that the re-entry glider returns to Kerbin by itself and leaves the service module and... yeah. Maybe that's a cool way to do it. What do these pods weigh? 1.28. 0.66. 1.03. Let's start over in the spaceplane hangar with the re-entry glider. Because I think that's going to be the place to start. Anybody out there has any comments about how I'm building this? I definitely like to take comments from the crowd. That looks really cool. I always like that stacked cockpit thing. It takes up a lot of room and it's a lot of weight. But you come to a point where you just deal with it. This guy is just going to need a little bit of fuel, like this. But he's also going to need an oxidizer for the deorbit, for the transfer burn and the deorbit burn. So let's do it like this. All right. I always want to carry more. See, I'm not sure that's enough to get him back from the moon. I'm not sure how much I like that idea. And if we make it super big, see, that's going to be way too heavy. We just want it to be a little light utility lighter. Maybe you could have a drop tank or something. We'll see. We're gonna play this by ear. Let's see. So I'm not gonna go up there completely and totally naked. I'm going to need some way to re-enter. I should just use one of these. I should just use a rapier. That's what I should use. Max thrust 175, 320, 360. Max thrust 190. Okay, but that's the atmospheric stats. All right. We'll do a rapier like that, and we'll see how it works. It kind of looks terrible. Whatever, let's put some wings on it. Anyone who's tuning into this channel because it's got a picture of a space plane on it, I'm sorry. Space planes are not my strong suit. I'm going to try and get one done here, but I'm really just trying for a simple glider that'll get them home and let them land. Let's toss out my center of mass, toss out my center of lift. That is actually not a bad center of lift already, and as I get less fuel, my center of lift is only going to go forward. So that's not terrible. That's not terrible for a glider. Let's also put a tail on it. That's not a tail. Where's my little tail thingy? Tail fin. And instead of that, let's just do this. We'll try for some kind of low profile situation like that. And honestly, that's all I really need. We're gonna need some way to generate power. So we'll get us one of these. Lay it down, put it there. I like it. We're gonna need some landing gear. So let's go and grab the wheelie with the sugar thingies. Is that pointed up? That is pointed up. That's a recipe for disaster. That looks terrible. Let's turn it backwards. I'm not sure if that's a no-no to turn the wheels backwards like that. But it's what we're gonna do. I know there's all sorts of shenanigans about clipping it into the body and whatever. There we go, ×2. That is terrible looking. that's not good. Let's do this thing where we put it like way up here. Some of the things you can do that they just don't look as cool, you know? Like that looks totally dumb. Let's see if we can clip it in or whatever. Not in love with that. That looks dumb. But when it's closed, maybe it'll look kind of like a sensor pod or something. So we're not going to need RCS. We're not going to need... That would be interesting. Yeah, we're going to need a docking port on the bottom because we're going to have to attach it to the ship somehow. Right? Let's see here. Let's go grab us a docking port. Which is probably going to hang off the bottom substantially. Am I blind? It's under utility. You know something? I don't think... Let's not go with a docking port. I don't think we're going to go with a docking port. I think we're going to go with a radial decoupler. And I think that would be freaking awesome. Yes. That's what we're going to do. Automatic switching, toggle mode, air breathing. Alright. Let's see what we've got with this. Let's see how it flies. Re-entry glider. If somebody comes up with a better name for this, toss it in the chat. I am not particularly creative when it comes to naming my stuff. But let's go give this guy a test flight. Again, this space plane would never get into space. The purpose of this guy is to get a re-entry trajectory back to Kerbal and then glide back to KSC. Wow, those wheels probably need to be further back. Looks cool though. Whatever. Alright, throttle up. Activate. That's rocket mode. Closed cycle, come on. Why would it start in that mode? Oh. The mod that adds an autopilot function is called MECJEB, Mechanical Jeb. So it's like this that I'm typing in the chat right here. MEC Jeb. Like that. You know why? We need an air intake. Ay, ay, ay. This is why I don't do space planes. You're not going to get any fuel if you don't have the capability to actually suck the air in. In which case, You will need air intakes. I don't feel bad clipping air intakes. I actually think that they're kind of cool when you put them like straddling a wing sort of deal. So let's see if that hits anything else. I really want it to be down a little lower than that. Take the wing off and we'll put them straight on like this. I don't like part clipping myself, but there are some parts that I don't mind clipping. And intakes like that, where they kind of clip through a wing or some other structural element, I don't mind doing that, because you could see a real design being like that. When you clip stuff left and right, that's not really my bag. I don't really like it. So now we've got some air, and we've got some fuel, and we need some control surfaces over here. I almost forgot. Let's give it some control surfaces. Like that. Save it, launch it, let's see how it flies. And I really don't want to spend too much time on this. I just want to make a cool little glider. This guy may have tail dragging problems when he comes back home, but it's all good. So let's see here if this guy will actually do air breathing. That sounds like air breathing to me. Yes, it is. Now let's see if it'll take off, and we're just going to take it up and try to come in for a landing. Is there anybody in the second pod? No. That's all good. So over a 20, we should be able to fly. Let's put our gear up. Let's go ahead and come on out. See if we can't line back up for a landing. Oh, I don't have my beacons in this save. That's lame. I usually use these runway beacons so that I can line up with the runway at night. Apparently I don't have them in this save. I should totally do a split S. Or no, I guess in this mode it would be an Immelman. Am I going directly away from the runway? Yeah, pretty close. Let's see if this craft can pull off an Immelman turn. Barely. It's going to get a ton of altitude. There, we're nosing over. Now we're coming back down. Down. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull up from this. Let's see. Much less land with that short of a... Wow, this thing turns super fast. And this is how Valdez lands 101. Although I did have a super freaking awesome landing. Come on, give me some throttle. Nose it up, baby. Nose it up. Wow, you're still too high. A glide slope would be nice. My kingdom for a glide slope. There we go. Oh, that's the runway. Hit the brakes. And that's us landing on the runway after doing it. Hey, welcome back, Portybo. Alright, so that was easier than anticipated. And here we are. Back on the runway. This craft is controllable. It's good enough. I can use this to re-enter. I'm gonna mark it as done. We're gonna go save it as a sub-assembly. Ooh, that may be ugly. We'll have to see. Back to the space plane here. So this is what we're gonna use to recover our two dudes from the moon. Just to have some sort of space plane action going on here. I mean, I guess it would make sense to just keep this thing in orbit and then rendezvous with it on the way back. Instead of taking it to the moon, that's probably our answer. That's probably our answer right there. All right. If I want to save it as a sub-assembly, it's not going to let me because it's going to say that there are no nodes. Well, we'll see how it works. Reentry glider. Oh. Well, maybe that's why. Because I forgot the front of this silly thing. Oh, whatever. We can build that again. So let's go on back to the launch facility, the VAB, and actually design a rocket that's going to go to the moon. Back to the big building, where things point up in the air. And let's see here. We're going to have 2 Kerbals. We don't want them to ride in the plane the entire time. We're going to need a small lander. So, how to do that? I think I'm a big fan of using this guy as a lander. The Mark II lander can, or the Mark I lander can. This will be the basis of our lander. And we don't need too terribly much fuel to land and take off from the moon. So we're going to do a super simple moon lander here. With a little bit of a twist, because I like a little bit of a twist. Let's go ahead and put one of... Where you at, tank? This tank. Meh. Not my favorite thing today. We'll put that on there. And then I'm going to do the deal with the stuff that involves the radially attachable RCS fuel tank. Don't ask me why. This fuel tank is radially attachable, just like that. Which means that you can subsequently put the little 48.7S's on it and have 2 radial 48.7S's. Stupid Kerbal trick. There we go. So we've got that. That's cool. There's not really a fuel tank that fits into this form factor. But what we can do is this. Just to make it look cool. Radial attachment points. Excellent. Fuel tankage. Excellent. Makes us look a little bit less fat, I guess. I guess I could also put the engines directly on there. We'll have to see how this fuel flows. Because then I'm going to put a fuel line to feed fuel to those engines. So let's see. Let's see. Oh, great, we have that issue. That's ugly, but it works. All right. Let's see how much Delta V this little moonlander has. There we go. System and Flight Engineer times 1, please. Wow, 3,000 Delta V. That will get us to the moon all day long. That's a good amount of Delta V for landing and taking back off again from the moon. Let me actually look it up right quick, just so that I can say. I believe it's about 800 to get down to the moon and 800 to get back up, assuming perfect piloting. So I think about 1,000 down, 1,000 up is a good estimate for the moon. I'm actually going to verify that right quick by looking up a subway chart here. So we're just going to do a Kerbal Space Program subway map. There we go. On the Kerbal, there it was right there. On the cheat sheet wiki. There it is, right there. Space Program Delta V map. So let's see here. According to this, it is 640. It's 640 to go from low moon orbit to land on the surface, and another 640 to get back up, roughly into the same orbit. That's not always completely true, but that's a good guesstimation. So at 640 down and 640 up, we should be good to go to get this lander doing whatever we need. Let's check the Mooner thrust to weight. So over here, let's go and look at the non-compact version and set it to the moon. Thrust to weight on the moon is going to be 778. There's no atmosphere on the moon, so that doesn't make a difference. So because this thrust to weight is definitely higher than 1, we should be good to go. Delta V, yeah, we're good to go. Wow, 3,500 Delta V. That's a lot of Delta V. We could do a couple moon landings with this, actually. So let's go ahead and give it some landing bobbers. I think the LT ones should be fine for our purposes here. Let's see what they look like when they're extended. That looks good. Doesn't make us sit too high off the ground. It's always a balance between clearance, so you don't scrape off important parts like engines and fuel tanks and stuff like that, and a lower center of gravity. If your rocket's too tall and skinny, it can tend to lay over. I like how those sit. That looks good. It can actually be really hard to land it that way. So we are also going to... Let's make a note of these masses. This guy, fully tanked, mass about 5. Fully tanked, I wonder what the mass of that glider was. I bet you we can find out right quick. So that's 5 right now, and if I add this to the bottom, it goes to 9. Look at that. So it's 300 short of 5, which means that this is actually going to be a little bit heavier because we didn't have that other module on it that weighs 1.28. Alright. So we need a little bit more weight on the lander if we're going to balance these things out. Okay, let's see here what we can do. Lander. Anybody else? What am I missing on this lander? Can anybody enlighten me as to things that I may have missed? I like putting a probe core on it. I think we're going to go ahead and put the probe core at the top, I guess. Just a little old probe core like an Octo or something. We're going to need some power generation, so let's give him some solar panels. 2x3 should be fine for this. 2 2x3s. Excellent. He's going to need batteries. Batteries are good. We like batteries. For the powerings of the devices. Apparently doesn't want to. Yeah. I like that. That's just a super simple little generation. Yeah, we've got the power generation. So we've got the solar panels on there. Let's let it run off batteries and not put an RTG on here. I almost always just slap an RTG on, but for this one, let's not. It may be nighttime when we land, so let's go ahead and slap a landing light on him. Communications. We're going to need some communication as well. I prefer these for my landing lights because they let you know when the ground is coming up well in advance. I don't think we need 2 of them though. But the lights have almost no mass. 0, 1, 5, so they're not going to make me off center. We've got this RCS on here already. We're going to need some RCS control authority so that we can make it back up a rendezvous with the command module and dock, right? So let's put some RCS on here. And again, we're going to use RCS build aid. Wow, that's not good. That's a huge circle. Let's put 2 of them on, and let's put this near the center of mass. However, we're not going to have a lot of this fuel left. We're going to be coming back from the moon, so let's pretend that tank's empty and put our RCS right there. And that's what we will say will be the... we're not going to be docking with the main craft when that tank's full. We're going to burn most of the tank doing our... wow, do a moon base too? So far you've wanted me to do a space plane moon base fighter bomber mission to Minimus. I can definitely do a moon base in future episodes. For this one we'll stick with the little lander here. So now when we're empty, we'll have RCS good control authority to dock back with our main ship. Some way to get down. Also, I'm missing 2 degrees of control authority here. So let's fix that. Going over to here, getting these guys. I really and truly wish that they had just made this pod have a port pointing up as well. I mean, why not just have a port pointing up? Because then I wouldn't have to do this nonsense. Ugh. Whatever. A ladder. We're definitely going to need a ladder. So we can get down off the ground. Yeah, okay. Ladders? Anyone? There we go. Make sure it reaches. That's good. That looks just about right. Make sure it tracks. All right, I think this guy's good to go. I think that it is good to go. So we're actually gonna, let's go through the check. If I missed anything, holler out in the chat and I'll give it the 15-second delay to see if I missed anything. We have RCS for docking. We have RCS for docking. The problem is we don't have a docking port. This is why we do these things. This is why we do these checks. Now we have a docking port. Let's make sure our feet clear it. They do. All right. So, to start the checklist again, we have fuel, we have engines, we have RCS thrusters, we have RCS fuel, we have batteries, we have power generation, we have a place for a Kerbal to sit, we have a ladder for him to get down, we have landing assistance in the form of landing gear, we have a probe core. We have no science. We have nothing to do once we get there. That's lame. Let's toss a couple science experiments. This gravioli detector is a oldie but goodie. Seismic accelerator. This thingy. You never know when you're going to need a little antenna action here. So let's put an antenna on him from the front, like that. I like. All right. Okay. Now we're good. Now we have everything we need. We're still sitting north of 3,000 delta V. We've got a good 7.28 thrust to weight ratio, so we'll be able to take back off the moon. I think we're good to go here. The ladder reaches, space for the Kerbal. Door's not blocked. I hope that hatch isn't blocked by that stupid ladder. Talk about nightmares. Putting something blocking the hatch and then getting all the way to your destination and not being able to actually get a Kerbal into the ship you're working on, that's bad news. You know, so we're gonna take this guy off and we're gonna put one of those other docking ports. I feel like these docking ports don't get enough love. So we're just gonna use it. It's got higher impact resistance. We could pretend that it was a drill or something. But I just don't feel like those docking ports get used nearly enough. Wow, it's a lot more mass though. 33,721, we're still good on everything. We don't need to worry about that. And our mass is over 5. So we're good. We are going to save this guy as... Where's the root node? And I've forgotten the command for resetting the root node. Save it here as Moonlander 201. Save. And we're going to make a sub-assembly out of it. See if it lets me. It's not attachable. Well, that's fine. Now it's attachable. Moonlander 201. So just to recap the important things for getting that Moonlander tossed together. Wait a second. You get up here. Give me a new one. Alright, Moonlander 201. So to recap the important things here. We've got a Moonlander. It doesn't have to be huge. So many people start off by making their lander like using this pod and like this huge fuel tank, like this sort of deal, and they're like, hey, check me out, I'm totally going to the moon. But the first time you go to the moon, you shouldn't have a huge ship like that. Just make a little ship that has one Kerbal in it, 2 Kerbals, something like that. It's the same way we did in real life with the Mercury program. We didn't launch a team of 10 guys into space the first time we launched it. We launched a Mercury capsule. Had one guy in it, I think, in Mercury. And then we went to 2, and then we went to 4, and now we used to be able to do 6 on the space shuttle, and then we ditched that, and now we pay the Russians to let us do 1. Don't get me started. But you can make a little lander ship like this, and you're good to go. You don't really need anything more complex than that. So let us begin designing the save. I totally skipped what I was going to say. We have the Moonlander. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to weigh 20 tons. Moonlander's clocking in at 5 tons right here, 5,000 kilograms. That's all we really need. we don't need to land the battleship Texas on the moon the first mission out. We've got our power generation, solar panels. We've got power storage, both in the pod and the batteries. We've got fuel for our rockets. We've got a couple tanks on the side, the tank down the middle. We've got the actual engines. We've got RCS. You wouldn't need to take RCS if this was going to be a direct return to Kerbin, and you weren't going to link back up with a command module in orbit or anything else, a moon or space station or anything like that. You wouldn't even need to take the RCS. You could get rid of this down here, and you could get rid of the RCS in the pod. If you're just coming straight back and you're going to come back to Kerbin, you don't need the RCS. We know that our thrust to weight on the moon, this is important. In Kerbal Build Engineer here, I can click on the moon, and it'll tell me what my thrust to weight for these two motors is on the moon. If this thrust to weight here was under 1.0, if this thrust to weight was like 0.8 or 0.7 or heaven forbid 0.5, you can run into situations like that with a nuclear engine sometimes. That means that this craft would not be strong enough to push itself off the moon. So you do need to check over here once you get into the bigger, more complex designs. Check that thrust to weight and make sure that the thrust to weight when the thing is fully fueled is at least 1.0 for the body that you're going to. And it's different based on different bodies. On the Minimus, 15 thrust to weight. This thing could take off a Minimus all day long. The Moon, 7.2 thrust to weight. Kerbin, I could even take off of Kerbin. I could almost get into orbit. I've got 3,000 delta. Nope, I lie. I've got 2,600 delta V because Kerbin has an atmosphere. 1.2, I could take off the launch pad. Hey, nice Cybertech, I appreciate it. I'm trying to go over how to get to the moon and not have to launch like a freaking Yamato class battleship there the first time you go. But I do appreciate the compliment. So on Kerbin, we could take off the Kerbin launch pad. We wouldn't get into orbit because 26 does not an orbit make, but we would get off the launch pad with a 1.2 thrust to weight. In using this, you could actually see if your lander design would work on different places. We know it works on the moon. We know it works on Minimus. Would it work on Moho? 3.0 thrust to weight with 3,000 delta V. Survey says that the amount of delta V to get off of Moho is 1,400. So this same lander that we designed could just barely get us off this down to and back off the surface of Moho, as is the way we've got it right now. Not a lot of room for error in there, but you know, Eve, Lord, everybody knows nothing gets off Eve. This is 0.7. There's no way this would get off Eve from any perspective. Gilly, with the atmosphere or with the gravity of a pebble, got 234. I think you could sneeze and get into orbit off Gilly. But anyways, point being, here in Kerbal Engineer, once you design your lander, you can go through the different celestial bodies and see, I could reuse this on a couple different places. Moon, Minimus, bet you I could get it down on Val would definitely work. Bop and Pole would definitely work. Elu, 6.9, 3,000 delta V, 840. Yeah, we could use this thing to land on Elu. Getting to Elu would be the difficult part. But long story short, your lander doesn't have to be complex. It can be simple like this. We have saved it, and we are going to go to begin designing the service module that'll carry both the glider and our little lander here over to the moon. So let's go ahead and click save again and new. Service module. Room for two. One Kerbal going to be going down to land. Other Kerbal going to be hanging out. Let's use a T-can. It's got room for two. Mooner mission, 5 to 7 days. Meh, we don't need a hitchhiker. I think we're fine like this. And this gives us kind of a solid base to work from. So we have some fuel that we're going to need to transfer us to and from the fuel. I also like to put bigger old batteries. This isn't completely required, but we're going to put a big battery on there. Think of the lead in this battery as radiation shielding or something. I don't know. Maybe there's no lead in the Kerbal's batteries. Alright, we've got that. We've got that. We're going to need something to push us around. All of our mass. I think a poodle will do it. Let's see. Let's start with the poodle, because poodles don't get very much love. And we'll slap an engineering module on it. I'm going to put it right back here next to the XBT logo. Next to my logo there. 3,000 delta V in atmosphere raw. 4,600 delta V That's a lot of delta V. That should be more than enough delta V to get this thing into orbit around the moon. We may put some more on it though, because we still have to add our cargo. I like to do this. So let's go over how I'm going to attach these two cargo things. We know that if we've got something on our rocket, two different things on our rocket, right? Off to the side. Say on this one side, we put a big fat tank like this. But just one of them. And on the other side of the rocket, we put a wee little tank like this. Alright? Everybody knows this rocket's not going to fly straight, right? We've got our center of thrust down here in the middle of the poodle engine. We've got our center of mass way out here to the side. And so what's going to happen is as this rocket tries to fly, it's going to try to go in a circle. This thrust is going to push around the center of mass, and because it's not pushing directly on it, you're going to go in huge pinwheels like this. We were talking about RCS build aid earlier, so let's fire it up. RCS build aid has another feature over here on the engine tab. If you click on engine, it will tell you if your rocket's going to fly straight or not. You can see just the way I was just illustrating, as this thrust pushes around the center of mass, it's going to make us spin wildly in this direction. This is a huge red unintended motion circle. This is not a good way to fly a rocket. So you can see if I take this off, now RCS build aid is telling me, oh, you're going to fly straight. Your center of mass is directly over your center of thrust, and that means that you get to go in a straight line today. If I put two of these on here, like this, that rocket will fly straight because they're balanced out. The equal weights on both sides balance it out, and even though the engine's still the same, RCS build aid says, hey, good job. You have designed a rocket that flies in a straight line. Whoopity-doo! Oh, I will definitely, Canine Officer, I will definitely do that. Let me do this. If I get this thing going into orbit, when we're on the way to the moon, I'll pull up the Delta V map and put it up here so you can see it, and I'll explain how to read it. It's basically you start at one place and you add things together like you're doing a fare on some subway systems, where it's like if you ride this far, it costs you 50 cents. If you ride this far, it's 75 cents. You basically just add the fares together, and that tells you how much delta V you need to get from point A to point B. I will bring that up on the screen once we get this guy into orbit and we're transferring to the moon. So, RCS build aid, we have designed a rocket that flies straight. That's awesome. I was doing an extreme example there with a huge weight on one side, like that, and a small weight on the other side, because we're going to want, see, it does change, but it doesn't change much. We're going to want to attach two things to the side of our command module here. On one side, we're going to have the lander, and on the other side, we're going to have the return plane, the plane that's going to get us back to Kerbal. Those two things don't weigh exactly the same weight, and that's a problem. I was just doing this demonstration to illustrate how you can see in RCS build aid using the engine tab that this rocket will not fly straight, and kind of say what we're going to need to do to put these two loads balanced so that this rocket flies straight. We're definitely going to use RCS build aid for that. So let's start off down here, and I'm going to kind of put this cargo adapter gantry, right? That's only one of them. We need 2 bits of cargo, so we're going to have one sticking off each side. I'm not sure that's sticking off far enough. We're going to find out. I'm going to go back over to my sub-assemblies and get my moon lander. And hey, guess what? It better be pointing out so the hatch is open. Let's go ahead and, to make it a little bit prettier, we're going to use these radial attachment points. So see, that's going to put one of those radial attachment points on either side. Not the prettiest thing in the world, I know, but bear with me. Now we've got the radial attachment point. We'll be able to use the docking port next. So let's go ahead and put a docking port in there. I could have definitely just put the docking port on there and not relied on the radial attachment point, but I think those things need a little bit more love than they get. We're not going to dock it long term this way. We're just going to park it upside down. That's not going to have a probe core on it. That's a problem. That's alright. We're going to strut this stuff in. So let me go over here and get my little probe core. Oops. I just want one. I don't want to attach this with radial symmetry, so we'll put that like that. We'll put that like that. So there you go. RCS build aid kicked in and it said, whoa, wait a second. You've got a lot of mass on one side. That's a problem. And you don't have any mass on the other side. So when you try to go, your center of thrust is going to be well off your center of mass. Now, Wyatt actually put the center of thrust over there. That seems like a bug. But it's probably because these engines up here are not going to be firing. To fix that, you can turn them off. You can set their thrust limiter down to 0, and that sucks your thrust back down to the actual center here. Ah, I know what was going on. It was actually going to spin us in a circle. RCS build aid was not incorrect. If we had fired up these engines all on the same stage like this, we've got these engines providing 30 newtons of thrust each, pointing in an upward direction. We've got this engine providing 220 thrust pointing downward, and our center of mass was in the middle. We would have turned this rocket into a big pinwheel. It would have spun in circles in the direction of the red arrow there. That's a problem. We don't want rockets like this. But for our perspective, we know that these little 48-7S's are not going to be firing while we're transferring. We can set their thrust limiter to 0, which is a way to kind of trick RCS build aid into saying, oh yeah, those engines are totally on, but they have no thrust. And that kind of fixes our problem there. But you can see, even with the center of thrust coming out the poodle, we're still going to spin because we have this load on one side. Let's go over and get our space plane and figure out how in Kerbal's Green Earth we're going to attach it to our rocket. We can't attach it that way. There's no attachment point on the back. I would have liked to use a... We may have to rebuild this thing on the side of the rocket here, which may be a challenge. Because there's no attachment point on the Rapier engine, unfortunately. I could fake it. I wonder if I could fake it. Let's see if I can fake it. Wow, that's a little bit bigger than our lander, isn't it? Jeez. There we're pinwheeling again. We have that Rapier set up. But we need 2 guys in there. So how are we going to attach this? I guess we could put another of the same cockpit. Let's see. I don't really like it. This is not how we designed this plane. We had the other cockpit in here. That looks ridiculous, quite honestly. I mean, it looks totally ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie. We're not gonna do it that way. I don't like it. Rockets don't have to be perfect, but they shouldn't look totally ridiculous. We're gonna try something totally different here. I mean, I understand we're suspending a little bit of belief here with the way we build these rockets, but we don't want them to be completely outlandish like that. Let's see if we can do it like this. This may be a way. It's all going to come down to what those are attached to. How to fix this. Alright. I will teach a trick. Stupid Kerbal tricks. What I really want is this right here. I really want a radial attachment point like that. And I want to, just like anything else, strap this guy to the side of that with a radial attachment point. That's the easiest way to connect this. The problem is the way the subassembly works, you can only attach subassemblies onto nodes. So because there's no node, a radial attachment node, or sorry, a axial attachment node on this, that would be the green dot right here at the end whenever I pick it up, I can't attach it like this. However, we can pull a silly trick that's going to allow us to attach it that way, and we are going to have to strut it in. It's going to require a return moon orbiter. We're just going to say actually moon station 201. Moon module. It's not a station, it's just a module. Moon module 201. Save. Alright, let's hop on back over to the spaceplane hangar and have a look at how we can fake KSP into letting us attach that thing on the side like that. So, spaceplane hangar. So, let's go ahead and bring up our craft. The re-entry glider. Ah! Okay, what was that? Here's our re-entry glider. We can get a radial attachment, or not a radial attachment point, we can get an attachment point by doing things like this. That's interesting that it says that there's a radial attachment point on the back of that thing. I believe I know why. Huh. This is when we need select route. It looks like if this... Let me just make sure here. So that's not a good thing to make sure with. There is an attachment point on the back of that. Huh. Alright, so we don't have to go through all that anyways. We have to have this as the root node. Can we make a rapier the root node? That's the question. Make a new craft. Please let me make the rapier a root node. Praise the Lord, the rapier is the root node. That's awesome. Alright, the reason this has to be the root node is because of the way the subassembly saving works. We have to have the attachment points, the green things that appear on either end of this, so that we can attach things from the subassemblies. I think I've already said that. So we're going to set this as the root node so that we can grab it and drag the whole craft. We're going to hop over here and grab our re-entry glider and attach it to this guy backwards, like that. Then we're going to rebuild him from scratch with this as the... What's on there? There we go. With this as the root node. So I'm going to do that number and ditch this rapier. I think I'm going to have to pull this off next. Oh, that's our wings and everything. And put it over here for now. Then we're going to pull the cockpit off. Put it over here. And now I'm just going to slap this guy back together in reverse order. So there's that. Yeah, okay, you're not letting me put it in there? Seriously? Oh, silly Kerbal Space Program. Yes, clearly that's not going to fit in there. There's no way in heck that that part could ever fit into there. One of the minor annoyances with this game. Well, that just means we gotta take the wings off, then put that on, then put the wings back on. That looks right. Then we gotta take our little pointy nose pod like that. Alright, I like that. And we're gonna put the other landing gear like this. Where are you at of the landing gear? Then I had done a thing where I kind of tucked it in a little bit like that. Yeah, that's good. I can land that thing. You can see I have RCS build aid still turned on and it's whining a little bit. Apparently the center of mass is not exactly lined up with the center of thrust. But because this is an atmospheric craft, that's not that big of a deal. So, we've got this thing redesigned. Let's go ahead and save it as... it was re-entry glider. Re-entry glider. Save. I may have just saved two of them, who knows. And then we're going to go ahead and put it back by grabbing this, put it back into here. Is the re-entry glider. Save it. Override it. And now we should have a root node. We should have an attachment point at the root node so that we can attach it to something at the bottom of that other rocket. Let's see if I'm a liar or not. I may have just totally flubbed that up. I'm going to like hang my head in shame. Slam the stop streaming button. Not really. We'll get this done. So here we are back at the VAB. We're going to open up the Moon Module 201. The Moon Module 201 already has its moon lander attached to it. And let's go ahead and do this. So we get 2 of them. Then we take 1 of them off. Change the symmetry down to 1. Replace it. Door is facing out. Remember to make the hatch face out. We'll go ahead and take this part off. We're not going to be using the radial point. Go to sub-assemblies. Grab our re-entry glider. Now you see we have an attachment point. That's awesome. That's what we want, is an attachment point. Because we can actually put that like that. We don't necessarily need a docking port there. We actually don't need... Geez, we have a couple things that we don't need there. We don't need the little dude. That's good. We'll go ahead and leave a docking port there. We'll attach that guy like that. Suck those landing gear in. There we go, landing gear in. Alright, so RCS build data is telling us that our center thrust is way out of whack. That's because this guy over here is not thrust limited to 0. Now you can see the thrust limiting is 0. And I still have some unintended rotation. If the craft is rotating in this direction, that means that the thing on this side is too heavy. This space plane here, why did those not retract? I thought I told those to retract. Okay, there we go. That definitely means that the space plane... ooh, we can do a different design that's better and more cool. Yeah, let's suck this in. Let's suck this in a little bit. I just thought of something that I think will be a lot better. Space plane on one side. This dude on the other side. These guys, the little cargo adapter gantries. Get you out of there. Oh, we're going to suck these guys in. Remember, the closer you can put your ancillary cargo to the center of gravity, the less effect this will have. So my goal here is to go ahead and bring these guys in so that they're closer to the center of gravity by using a skinnier center module. Doesn't look like I sucked that back enough. So that's okay. We just need to... take our cargoes off, put this further down. All the way down. Did that get us far enough? Not quite. This plane's a little too long. Oh, one more fuel tank will do us. We can just use one of these little guys. Because we were using this, which is 1440 fuel. Yeah, we're going to need to re-add fuel to this pretty significantly, so... Let's see here. Where's that other smaller tank? I think this guy will do us. There we go. Let's drag this down so we have more room for cargo attachment. Let's put the space plane over here with 1x symmetry. Like that. Space plane fits. I like it. How can we make this prettier? I like it. That's excellent. This is a concept I can get behind. Alright, now since we're sizing it off the space plane, that tucks in pretty well. That's cool. And we could actually suck the space plane in. Remember we had that radial attachment point? We can suck it in a little bit. Hey now, seriously? There we go. Let's see if that's good. That's closer. That's probably a good amount of clearance. I like that. Wow, it would be cool if we could not have that landing gear there like that. And the space plane would almost like seamlessly bump right up against that. That would be pretty cool. I'd have to do it with 2 landing gear. And I think I'd have to go back to the... Here, I'm going to click save right quick. And put these guys like this, but I just don't think that that's going to be pretty at all. Yeah, it's not going to ever want to attach to that. Well. I am never going to get that landing gear on there correctly in the VAB. But I think that would be freaking awesome if we did it that way. Let's go over... Yeah, wow, that's super cool, because look, then we can go over here. And we can make that space plane almost exactly match up. I mean, I could just see like a... oops. I could see a shroud going over that. Look at that. That's pretty. That is pretty. It's the only word for it, really. Alright, let me put my other piece of cargo on there. Let me just slap these parts together so I don't lose them. Set it down to one symmetry. Put that on that side. Set this guy down. Put him on this side. Oh, he barely touches. I don't think, he's just barely resting against the edge of that. It's extra structural integrity. I'll take it. That looks cool, though. I like that. I like how that looks. Awesome. Alright, so I need to save this. We're going to hop back over to the spaceplane hangar. So... spaceplane hangar is where we're going. Open up our re-entry glider. Load. There it is, and the goal was to... nodes on the back, right? This is the root node. Excellent. Make it a quad landing gear sort of setup. So let's do that. RCS build date, I love you. Don't need you right now. Space planing. That's too Clippy McClipperson for my taste. Let's spacebar to reorient that guy. Reorient that guy. We should make a tricycle. Alright, see, I don't mind that clipping. Seriously? Come on now. What did I do wrong? I grabbed it in the wrong place. You gotta be kidding me. Oh. It's got the shin guards there. Got some shin guard action going on. Hey, that honestly looks pretty cool, I think. I like how that looks. That's cool. Alright, so save view. Also update our subassembly. Wish there was a way to link a craft that's saved to a subassembly so that you could continue to drop it in. So drop it into the re-entry glider. Save. Overwrite. And back to the VAB. Let's get these cargoes balanced here. So, back to the VAB. Open up our 201 module. Load it. Alright, looking good so far. Except for you. Go away. Give me the new version that has the properly... Yes. Awesome. That's cool. Alright. Undeployed. Undeployed. That's cool. Alright. So... this guy on this side is going to have to stand off a little more. I still feel like this guy could suck in a little bit more And I feel like this tank is too long right now. So what I want to do is break these two things in two. Oh, good deal. Cordy Bow. This will definitely be recorded if you want to catch up with the rest of it later. But I do record them and I put them on Twitch here so you can get caught up. Eek, I lost the lander. That's okay. Let's do this. And we'll put one of these here like this. There we go. That's cool. That is very little wasted space. That looks freaking awesome. Sweet. Alright. Let me just orient a couple other things here. That guy. Is that guy long enough? No, but that guy. Plus a guidance unit, plus a battery maybe? Let's say plus a guidance unit. Plus the smaller fuel tank. I usually don't like using these guys, but there we go. Not on larger craft like this. That should do it. Alright, we're gonna see I'll show you all what's going on here. Take the space plane off. Take that off. Put this on. Put this on. Guidance unit go. Huh. I don't see the guidance unit. Anyways. And I'm actually gonna end up putting this sort of deal as a base. And see if I can't. Upside down, apparently. Alright, now I just gotta tuck it in. I was hoping I could get away without using the strut, but it doesn't look like that's gonna happen. That's good. That's good safety clearance there. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and strut this guy in appropriately. Strut him in appropriately, not strut him inappropriately. And we don't want wobble going. So we're also going to strut him out to the side, assuming that the landing gear would need to be strong points, right? Let's do it on the other side, just up here. Did I get that the same? Yes, I did. Just to the side of the landing gear, just like that. Alright, space plane is appropriately attached. So now we just need to do the same for the other side, where we had our little lander, and the lander did need a little bit more clearance. So there's that. So, more tricks with balancing things out. We know that the lander weighs a little bit different than the craft, than the actual space plane here. Let's grab the Moonlander 201, flip him around, orient him correctly. We already know that he weighs a little bit more. Does he have a probe core? No, he does not have a probe core. Alright, we'll fix that. But we also have the capability, we're going to need to even this stuff out, right? So what can we do to put some more mass over there? I typically try to add some fuel. So I'll come and I'll get me a radial attachment point. Slap it on here like this. Not sure that's going to be the right place. Let's see if it clips. Yeah, it butts up against it, so it needs to go out a little bit. Try that. There we go. Now he's got clearance, right? Now we've actually got extra fuel space under the wings. That's interesting. Maybe we will utilize that. We will see. So now we've got him on there. He's got room. Let's put a motor on. Let's thrust down our motors that we don't care about. Balancing out. Like that. Let's fire up RCS build aid. Alright, so it tells me we're going to turn a little bit. See, we've got a little bit of turn going on there. Something's not quite centered. So we need... Do we need less fuel here? Let's see if the turn gets worse. Well... Oh, look at this, look at this. Okay, this guy isn't lined up straight. That's a problem, not having that guy lined up straight. Wow, it is all manner of not wanting to be straight. That's super annoying. Over there, it seems like it's angle snapped. But that's too close. That's way too close. And then when I try to put it on this, it doesn't angle snap, of course. Thank you, KSP. So let's just see if we can't get it centered. That's totally wrong. Ah, see, this is one of the annoyances. Okay, now at least we got that going the right way. That's leaning out. That's ridiculous. I just want it to freaking snap over there. That looks pretty much in the center. Alright, let's see here. Apparently now there's too much weight on that side. So we can't put that fuel tank there like I was hoping. Lame. Is this guy full up? Yeah, he is full up. I guess that's the difference that little bit of extra sticking out to the side makes, huh? Well, we can do this. Remove that. Put it closer in. Yeah, we'll launch him from like that. Look, I mean, look at his orientation. What the heck? Let's see if we can't do the trick with the docking port. Eek! I stuck him onto a radial attachment point. That's stupid. My bad. There we go. Sorry. Fix that. I do not understand why our little guy is twisted like that. Oh well. But look at that. Now we're almost exactly balanced. So what is this? This is an empty fuel tank? That's dumb. Let's just take that off, take that off. Put our probe core like this. And put our thingy like that. Now he's straight. Okay, that's good. And we don't have a too terrible lot of extra motion there. It says that we're going to be drifting to the side a little bit, but I'm not really worried about that. We need to strut this guy in. Ooh, that light's ugly. That light's super ugly. There, we'll put it like that. That is less super ugly. Alright, then we'll strut this cargo in, just like we did the other cargo. I don't think I can attach to it. Yeah, I can't attach to that. Kind of lame. So we'll have to go from there. Come on around. To there like that. Strut's kind of straight. Strut's pretty straight. Let's change up our strutting a little bit. What is our delta V right now? 1774. Okay, 1774. We've got that guy in. We've got that guy in. These attachment points aren't the prettiest thing in the world. That's okay. We're kind of limited in what we can do. I wish I could make use of this space, but this guy is kind of compact. Another trick you can use is if you're having trouble, you can actually empty out the fuel tanks on any cargo that you attach kind of asymmetrically like this or radially. And when you empty it out, it makes the mass less. You can actually use that to balance it. So if this one was too heavy, you could empty out some of that fuel and store it somewhere else on the craft. I'm not going to worry with that this time. What's our thrust away? 0.79. Don't love it. I don't love that. Let's see if we can make more delta V happen here. What do you think you're hitting? That's honestly kind of cool. Especially if we end up using 2 more motors. What is our delta V now? Let me have a look. Run those in there. 2622 delta V in this craft. I need more. I want more. Hey, Scott, 12234. How's it going? Thanks for dropping in. We are sending a mission to land on the moon and return via a space plane, more of a space glider since it's not taking off as a space plane. But that is the goal of our mission here. Let's connect this. More silly tricks. There we go. Now let's put the fuel in. 2957. That's 3,000 delta V on this craft. I like it. I think that's what we're going to go with. Maybe a little bit more fuel would be good. So we're just going to make the same structure that we made in reverse. Let's see. Where are you? My little tank. There's that. Can I fit these in? There's that. Why don't we put something to make it pretty? Clipped a little bit there. I'll allow it. Since it's clipping into a... Don't like it. There we go. Ooh, those may be better. Now it clips. We'll just go with these. And we're going to put our fuel tanks in there as well. Or our fuel lines, I mean. Just do it kind of like this. Alright, 2921 delta V to get to the moon. Hey, take it easy, Cordy Bo. Thanks for hanging out. It's good to have you hang out with us. Sorry you're feeling under the weather, Scott. That's never any fun. Did I mess with those struts? I may have messed with those. Ooh, I didn't mess with those struts. Splice pane should be good. That guy should be good. Let's go ahead and finish off his strutting here. Because I want to do something like this. Oh, look, we can just strut them both the same. Alright, that's cool. That's what we'll do. Ditch that. Ditch that. And over here we'll put another strut going like this. From, I believe it was there, to I believe it was there. Yeah, look at that. Nice. Alright, so we've got a craft with, is this atmospheric? Nope. 29 whatever, delta V. 0.53 on the thrust away. That's a little lame. Not gonna lie. You had to do one of those, no, the neti pots are for your nose. One of those earwax treatments or something like that. Alright, now we need some ancillary sort of stuff on the main pod. We already have a battery. We need power generation. I am going to go ahead and put an RTG since it's supposed to be a long-term kind of station sort of deal, or at least it'll stay. We can use this room up here for that. Would be kind of cool to put some mood lighting in. I like the mood lighting. Let's go find our broad spectrum floodlight mobobbers. We'll see if these suck in far enough. Sometimes I really don't feel like they do, and I don't feel like they look good sticking off the side. I mean, it already looks so cool with the plane being so streamlined and everything. But I think we'll leave it. That's fine. Decorative lighting. A flashlight that was turned into a rocket. Yeah, it's like a Swiss Army flashlight. It's got a lander, it's got a re-entry thing, it's got some extra fuel on the side. It's got quite a few different things going on there. I don't like that thrust to weight, and I wonder if we could do something to make that thrust to weight more better. And I know that we can, because we could use our little... Where's our radial attachment point at? Just to get a little bit more thrust out of this contraption. Because I want a radial attachment point that is clipped a little bit, like that. And then I want to come over here and get me some of these guys, I think. Let's see if they work. 0.67. That's a little bit better. Vacuum 350. Meh. Why don't we do this? 2913. Can we put two of these on here? No, they're definitely going to do that. I think we'll just put these two little kind of station keeping things on here. That's fine. A little bit ugly. If I cared, I would clip it. Will it work? Hey. Whoa, that's the wrong size. We're not going to worry about the looks on that thing. We've been working this on a side for a while, so its size is kind of set here. Oh wow, and those engines are not anywhere near. There we go. I think that's... Let's just tuck it all the way in. There we go. That's good. Alright, we've got fuel, we've got that, 0.67 to help us with our burns, we've got station keeping. That's good. I think this is looking like a pretty good lunar module. What else do we need? I said power generation. We have one RTG. Let's also give it a couple solar panels. Nothing too fancy here. Let's go and just put some little smaller solar panels on it, like where are the 1x6s? These will just be kind of ancillary to our RCGs, backups, whatever you want to call them. Oh, that would be cool. Would that be totally cool? Let's have a look right quick. Structural, where's my little adapter thingy? Would, if I put you there... No, that guy would clip through there quite a bit, so that's not going to work. Alright, so we have a little bit of extra go juice. We've got a couple different things to help us generate power. We've got fuel lines run correctly. We've got 2885. That should get us to the moon and back. Lights. I've got a couple lights up here on the top. You can see these are kind of like the cargo bay lights. Each one of these side things being a cargo bay. So we do have some lights to light up our cargo bay. In addition, we may, I'm not sure what it's going to look like exactly, but we may be getting a good view out of this window. I don't think we're going to be able to see the space plane or anything. Yeah, but we do have those lights there. Let's go ahead and do this as well. It looks like a hut. It looks like I turned the T-can into some sort of hut because the T-can's so skinny. I like it. It's like a flying Chinese flashlight. And we're going to go ahead and put a docking port up here. That's fine. That's fine. Don't really need any science experiments on here. We've got those two docking ports here. I'm actually going to put a docking port here as well. This is kind of just for good measure. Anything else? It needs to be more aerodynamic. This is about as aerodynamic as it gets. I imagine two things. I would imagine that these wings could, while we're in space, the wings would fold up or something, so that they were less of a cumbersome. See, if we were able to fold those wings kind of right in the middle here and have them touch, you could imagine a shroud going all the way around this thing. So see how I've tried to kind of keep it aerodynamic? I've tucked in that cargo. And if I had one of the procedural fairing mods, I could put a fairing down here and have a fairing kind of go around the whole thing in a bubble if we could make those wings and tails fold in, which I would expect from a real rocket. But we don't have that capability in KSP without a mod. What about takeoff? You need the thing holding it up. Yes. We still have a lot of stuff we need. 2837, this is our sunk Delta V. This is the Delta V we'll use to go to the moon and back. This is not the Delta V that's going to get us into an orbit. So we do need to bring a whole heck of a lot of rocket underneath this thing and make it go to space today. So, let's start with that. And let me actually make sure that I choose the correct engines here. I almost wish I had nukes. I'm not going to go with nukes. 2 nukes on the side would be kind of cool, but I don't think that I'm going to go with that. Yeah, let's leave it where it is. If this has trouble, then we'll change things up a bit. Where are my 2 little side engines? Okay. And then where's my 1 engine? There we go. Alright, so these are our utility engines. We don't really need to worry about them. Now we need to build a rocket underneath this puppy. So that's like that. Alright. So we need an orbital insertion stage. Usually looks like this. That's good. Nukes, like the nuclear rockets. These rockets right here. They're very, very efficient, and if I had designed it that way, I would have used 2 nukes up here on the side. But I'm not going to go back and change the design at this point. Top piece, like this part here. Is this what you're talking about? Stuck in a hole? I'll come back to it after I see the answer in the chat. Use a skipper as an orbital insertion. I'll take it. That's 1,000 Delta V. And then we need a big old... Excellent. Skipper, 1,000 Delta V with a 1.0. I like that. And we're going to put this guy on top of a big rocket. Yes, okay. I got you. Let's see if we can do something with that as well. So let's finish up our Delta V, then we'll go and do cosmetic stuff on the top. There's that. There's that. Move it up. Grab our big 4X. 184 on the launch pad. 353 into orbit. That's not too shabby, actually. That's definitely not too shabby. That means that these can carry more fuel. 3840 on the launch pad. I like it. I'm gonna go ahead and line up the stripes, I guess. Whatever. It might as well look pretty. See? Look. What's up now? 1.6 on the launch pad. 3840 into orbit. That's not too bad. I have a feeling that we can deal with this just by strapping a couple solid boosters onto it. Let's see. What is that? 4148 to orbit. That is a concept I can get behind. 4148 to orbit. Tell me that we're in a... Ah! So, Kerbal Engineer Redux lets you change between atmospheric and not. I did not have atmospheric set. Watch what happens to my Delta V here. Right now I've got 4148 into orbit. When I click this, it drops to 3673. That's because these engines on this rocket, I'll actually show everybody, If you look at the stats for the KS25X4, in atmosphere, the ISP is 320, over there engine ISP on the right-hand side, and in vacuum, the ISP is 360. So whenever I've got Kerbal Engineer in atmospheric mode, it uses 320 as the atmospheric efficiency for how much thrust it's going to get out of that fuel. When I put Kerbal Engineer out of atmospheric mode, so you see the button is not highlighted there, it's going to use that 360 instead of 320, meaning that it's going to get more delta V in vacuum than it's going to get in atmosphere. I run into that problem. I forget sometimes. You always got to check. I've launched rockets and I'm like, oh yeah, 4,500, we're good, let's launch. Not realizing that this was not in atmospheric mode. Got to put it in atmospheric mode before you design your rocket. So now we're good to go. 3673, we still have a ways to go before this guy makes an orbit. So let's do that. 38902 in atmosphere. I want more on... Yes, I'm going to do those launch clamps last, Scott. After I've got everything else around here, I'll add the launch clamps to it, definitely. That's that. I really wish... Let's see here. Maybe, what is it, 1.65 on the pad? We may... I like to stay away from these hydraulic manifolds because of the bug that is in the game right now. But let's see. Let's see if we can launch it with this. There's that. We're just going to fashion some boosters here. And I think that we will go with the skippers like that. And we'll add some more fuel on top of them like that. And then we will strut them in. There's a bug with the radial attachment points, these, like the decouplers, that's causing them to tear ships apart right now. Basically, whenever you decouple your stuff, it explodes horribly instead of decoupling appropriately. And it's a huge, huge annoyance. It's come out since 0.24 has been out. But we're going to see if we can't work around it. Let us... Here we go for the aerodynamic people in the crowd. There's some aerodynamics. Muy bien. And let's add some fuel lines. We'll try it a couple different ways, actually. We are going to try it a couple different ways. So there's our two, and we need this guy to detach at the same time. That is our orbital insertion stage, is it not? So it needs to detach at the same time as that. And then these guys need to detach whenever. 4213, that's an orbit. I wonder if it's more efficient if we run the fuel lines in like this. What does that give us? 4213. Wow, that's ugly. Alright, now we got fuel 4213, 103, pop the sides. That, I believe, that will get us into orbit just fine. You're going to hear a lot of people tell you that this number right here, it takes you 4,500 meters per second of delta V to get into orbit. True. That's a mathematically calculated statement. Here's the thing. In Kerbal Engineer, this is showing you the atmospheric efficiency of the engines. And I actually believe that this is at sea level for Kerbin. We're not going to stay in atmosphere while we're launching this thing. As we launch and as we go up, we're going to be burning fuel at the lower efficiency, but we're also going to be digging our way out of the atmosphere. And once we get up out of the atmosphere, up out of the soup, our engines are going to run a lot more efficiently. So when we design this in Kerbal Engineer, because I've got this stage up here, remember when we looked at it, this was over 1,000, but now it's saying 902. What's the deal with that? That's because it's calculating the efficiency of this skipper engine right here that I'm using to push at sea level. When this engine fires, I sure as heck hope we're not at sea level anymore. We're going to be probably up around 40,000, 50,000 meters. And that's going to allow this to get this efficiency instead, 1043 instead of the 902. So because of that, even though this says 4213, we're still going to get into orbit, because realistically, as we integrate our way out of the atmosphere, it's going to increase the efficiency of this fuel that we're carrying up, and that means that we actually have, when you look at it as a gradient out of the atmosphere, more than 4,500 there. So you can actually design this number so that it's right around 4,000. And as you fly up out of the atmosphere, that fuel will gain efficiency, the engines will gain efficiency, and by the time you get out of there, it'll be over 4,500. I'll illustrate that when we're taking off. Somebody said some launch clamps. Launch clamps are good news. Let's toss 4 on. Like that. I like launch clamps. Let's also put 2 MOS launch clamps down here on the side. That ain't right. That ain't right either. Look, seriously, Kerbal Space Program, I do not want it on... Yeah, I want symmetry. I don't want... There we go. If anybody saw, I was putting the other launch clamp in the middle of things right there, and that's not what we wanted at all. This here, somebody had said we wanted this to be a little bit more aerodynamic. I'll get on board with that. I will go ahead and take this off and put this here. I don't know. How does that look? It's definitely more aerodynamic. And since I always say these things don't get a lot of love, I'll put that on there. It looks like it looks less like it has a party. Maybe more of a party hat or a dunce hat now, and less of a Chinese sampan hat or whatever. Theoretically, this guy here should be able to get into orbit, and I think it's time for us to start launching rockets. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to send it to the launch pad, and while it loads up on launch pad, I'm going to take a 1-minute break and go get a drink. Excellent. Now I have a drink. So here we are on the launch pad. I'm not really going to worry about, what is that, intake air? Oh yeah, we have intake air. Amazing. Let's go ahead and shut that down. Close the intake. There we go. We don't need intake air. Now we're going to close those intakes with some air in them, and we're going to carry it all the way to the moon with us. Good times. So I'm just going to get us into a regular orbit here. I'm not going to worry about the moon's position. We're not going to go for a direct descent or anything like that. We're just going to go up to the moon and back. So step 1 is the launch of the rocket. Let's fire up Kerbal Engineer. SAS engage. Everybody's good to go. Let's see how this rocket flies with a space plane on one side of it. We may have to do some jinking to make that space plane behave. But let's see. Here we have a mostly aerodynamic looking rocket. Wow, I think that actually looks really cool with that plane on it. Print screen time. I like that's a cool screenshot. That texture replacer, the new skybox, looks so cool. The link to the skybox that I'm using, so you get the different clouds, or sorry, the different stars and stuff like that, is in the channel description if you want to check it out. We've got Bill, we've got Jeb. We didn't slam anybody in this pod, did we? Not enough crew in our thingy here. We've got 2 crew. Alright. Let's stop running my mouth and start launching rockets. 3, 2, 1. Thrust to weight 145. That's a little low. I like 1.7 on the pad, but that's okay. Aha! I've mucked up, apparently. I have definitely mucked up. These parts don't feed fuel, apparently. These fancy nose cones I put on here for the aerodynamic crowd, they're not feeding fuel. So you can see down here my 2 skippers have a lot of fuel, but my main engine cluster is pulling fuel out of its main tank. This guy is not going to go to space. That is not going to work with those fuel lines coming out of the pot, out of the aerodynamic nose cones there. Quick fix though. So we'll grab that. We'll go down like this. 2x symmetry. We'll put it here. Like that. We'll put it there. Like that. And now we should have the fuel feeding that I'm looking for. Save. And launch. SAS is stability control. Long story short, it tries to keep the orientation of your craft locked at whatever heading you set it at. So if you turn it in a certain direction and turn SAS on, it tries to use the reaction wheels and things on the craft to keep the craft pointed in that direction. So SAS, the little light right here, you press the T key to turn it on, and that will get you going. It's really useful whenever you're trying to do burns, especially when your craft may not be exactly balanced or centered, and it keeps wanting to go off. You may have the control authority with the reaction wheels to keep yourself straight, even if you're a little bit off balance. So that is what SAS does. SAS, stability, advanced stability. Not sure exactly what it means. Oh, this rocket's a little wobbly. I feel like something's wrong. I feel like we're sideways or something. Does anybody else see that? It looks like the whole rocket is turning. And I do not know what's going on there. That's interesting. Something broke. It's the fuel. Oh, there it is right there. The symmetry went wonky, and instead of putting it on the other side, it put two things on the same side. Silly KSP. Look at this. It's got an unintended fuel duct sticking out the side of it. What I wanted was for two fuel ducts to come, one out of either rocket, one right here, not one right here, and one right there. Alright. Fixed. Back to launch pad. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and on the name list here. Algae. Adel still here. Ad Fast Cybertech. EG90. JTM still here. K9 Officer. Limonoid. Magical Mexican. Odele. Master of Ice T. Cordybo. Reaper Scott. Stuck in a Hole. And Swabby Donkey Kong. I doubt that that's what that stands for, but that's what I think when I see DK. Sorry. Let's launch this thing again. Those air intakes. Closed. Closed. Throttle up. SAS engage. This time, let's see if it goes to space. Rocket's a little wobbly. It's got a bunch of little piddly stuff up on the top of it. Denmark. Ah, that's what I get for growing up born and raised in Texas, USA. I would not think of Denmark when I saw DK. But thanks for answering. Alright, so regular old launch profile, we're going to go up, off the ground. We're going to be trying to go around around 150, 160 meters per second at 5,000 feet. We're going to be trying to go 260 meters per second at 10,000 feet. Then we're going to turn left at Albuquerque and try to go into orbit. So let's see how that works for us here. Tejas. I'm a big fan. I was born and raised down there. I can totally speak with an accent if you'd like me to, but I tend not to. I don't know why. I grew up on a farm in the middle of a cornfield. Volunteered on a ranch working with horses for years and years. Got a pair of cowboy boots. Ah! And there's the bug. Ah, well. That didn't help. Separatrons it is. That was a bit of a... Oh, no. All right. Well, we know what's wrong. We know how to fix it. It's just super annoying. You there. Separatrons. Why don't you separate this thing? 2, 4. Not exactly so. 4. Alright. Hopefully that's sufficient to rotate this thing away from its center of gravity, which should be very low at that time. Yes, do a thing! Let's do it like that. Seriously, Separatrons? We'll do it this way. We'll move your cousin parts over there, then we'll move this part over to there. Alright, pop the Separatrons, go to space. 5, 4, 3, that's interesting. We may have extra fuel left on that command module. That's... We'll talk about that when we get up there. This saying 4533 right there means that we're going to have fuel left over in the orbital insertion stage. There's a lot of different things you can do with that. This is the orbital insertion stage right here. There's a lot of things we could do. One is we could put a probe core on it so we could deorbit it. I think that's what we're going to do. Let's slap a probe core on there right quick. Deorbit that puppy. I have a way that I like to do this. It looks a little funny. I think it looks a little cool. But I don't think the Stay Putnik gets enough love. So I like to give it some love on occasion. Like that. We toss a battery on the back of it. Like that. We're not going to have... Control authority from that probe core is going to be minuscule. Meh. Who cares? That's fine. That shouldn't throw us too out of whack. From New Jersey. I went to New Jersey. I could understand what people are saying. Really wasn't that big of a deal. And we should have enough fuel left in that guy to deorbit him. We could also use the orbital insertion stage's extra fuel to begin our push to the moon. I would want a lot of extra fuel if I want to do that, because I'd want to be able to get it back down, deorbit it again. But I think what we're going to do is just try to keep this simple. There's a rocket. It wants to go to space. I don't know why I'm worrying about this intake air. It's all that extra drag that it causes. Ooh. Not really. SAS engaged, throttle up, go for launch, got some Separatrons to space with you. I mean, I don't have an accent, do I? If I'm around people who have a serious Texas accent, I can certainly speak with a serious hick accent or whatever you want to call it, but in my normal conversation, I just kind of have a generic accent. I don't know why. Like if I'm out on a ranch working, I used to run as a tail gunner for trail rides. So tail gunner is the guy who knows what he's doing, who rides in the rear, so that when you have a problem with your horse, I can actually sidle up and help you out with your horse. It's like you look at you ride from the back and you can see what's going on with everybody, while the person in front actually gives a tour or whatever. I used to volunteer on a ranch and do that sort of stuff. But then I was certainly expected to use... Yeah, thanks, I sound American. Yeah, America. And then I was expected to kind of use a bit of a accent, along with not wearing my baseball cap. I got in trouble because I would wear a North Face hat or Houston Astros hat or whatever while I was riding, and they're like, the customers expect you to have a cowboy hat on. I was like, but I don't wear a cowboy hat ever. Native American. What part, Scott? Are you from New Mexico or Arizona, somewhere out there? And I asked because I've spent a lot of time in New Mexico. I'm a big fan. The ranch that I worked on was actually on is on reservation land in New Mexico. So we were able to use the reservation land to run it's kind of a rescue operation for horses that got hurt or were neglected or whatever. And I spent about 3-4 years out there helping them out. That's good times. And it's sad the way that some people treat horses. It's absolutely ridiculous. I have stages that I need to... Ah! The same thing happened. I can almost just put that stupid thing into space without doing the fuel cross feed. Yeah, thanks, Cybertech. And you see what happens when I stage? It blows up again. It's this stupid bug. You see, it's actually when the separator fires, it's destroying. All right. I'm so sick of this. Stupid radio. I mean, it's just the entire thing is blowing to pieces whenever I stage. It blows every part that's touching that tank off of that tank. It makes me sick. You know something? I don't think that we need... There. That's still over. Yeah, we're just gonna do it that way. Forget this whole staging thing. We're just gonna... We're not even gonna worry about staging. We're just gonna put it to space. Do as I say, not as I do. These things really probably should be staged. Wowzer, that's too many. Yeah, what's up now? That's just like a big super booster underneath. What are you gonna do about that, KSP? Show me how your bug is gonna destroy that craft. And we still have 4224 into orbit. So we're good. Yeah. Complain about that, KSP. Cherokee and Blackfoot. Nice. Is that exactly what happened, Cybertech? They reversed the ejection force? Good night, Irene. You gotta be kidding me. Why was someone in there editing that code? Ugh. So if you're Cherokee, you're probably somewhere near me. I broadcast out of North Carolina. I'm living in North Carolina right now, but Smoky Mountains sort of whole deal over there is a large Cherokee area, if I remember correctly. Scott. Alright, forget the ejection force. Who knows which one's going to run out first? I don't care. I just want this thing to go into space because we're supposed to be going to the moon, yada yada yada. What is this? Go down there. You don't even know what stage you're in anymore. Press the button. Go. Let's go to space. I guess you could tune this so that these boosters run out of fuel at the exact same time. Just give one a little bit more fuel, or maybe change the thrust limiters or something like that. Alright. Air intakes, who even cares? 3, 2, 1. Launch. And there was. And the stream rejoiced. Somebody needs to type in yay over there. Come on. Yay. Monty Python is freaking awesome. Not gonna lie. Look at the wings. The wings, like... No, I guess they're flat. That's all good. It's acting like it wants to turn a little bit here. But it looks like, wow, the main stage is going to run out of fuel a lot sooner than the side rockets. I'm not sure how much that may not be a good thing. They're transferring fuel on the fly here. That's how I roll more fuel into those middle tanks. Thrust limiting. I could also throttle back these guys with the thrust limiter a little bit. 86.5. Close enough. Alright. I'm just trying to make those things not run out of fuel first. Wait, that's backwards though. We thrust limited the wrong freaking thing. And also I need to do a gravity turn. And I need to thrust limit this down to like 80. There we go. Alright. Wow. some more. Let's see how that goes. We could tune that by changing the thrust limiter on the main 4X motor there. And I did it totally backwards. I thrust limited the 2 side parts, and I didn't thrust limit the middle part. Duh. That's okay. That's how things go when you're doing it on the fly like that. But pretty soon that center stage is going to run out. We're just going to be pushed by those 2 things. 109, I don't like that thrust to weight, but I think we'll be okay. Especially since we're already at 30,000 altitude. In person, I look pale, but in like a Skype call, I look dark. I look dark in a Skype call because I only Skype at night. Wow, we're burning almost at exactly. Our apoapse, time to apoapse was staying like rock solid. That's pretty cool. So I'm just going to lean over here and get more orbital velocity out of the stage and less upwards velocity. When you're going up, you always want to be watching this time to apoapse, because if you're not high enough and fast enough when you cross your apoapse, that's the peak of your arc, right? When you start going back down. You've got to get that thing above 70 before you start to go down, or you're in trouble. So it's always a balance, balancing out your orbital velocity, how fast you're going around the planet, with how much velocity you're using to get away from the planet higher and higher. But now that we're over 60 up there, we're good to go. We can put almost all of our energy into our orbit here. And then that final orbital insertion stage will finish us off. Remember, on the launch pad, this S2, this is our insertion stage. It said we only had 900. Now we've got 1041 because of the effect of that whole... Whoa, one rocket had more! Woo, that's when I transferred that fuel. Okie dokie, dang. All right, hang on. We need to, where's my car? Move the Kerbal engineer window. That was a little scary there for a second. One of those side engines was still going. The other side wasn't. Trouble. Let's put this guy on up to 80. That thing cartwheeling behind me, Jesus. All right. Oh, I do. Here, let me turn some lights on. Gosh, I still need to install that. Yeah, thanks, Cybertech. I need to install that mod that lets you change the ambient scene lighting so that it's easier to see. Wow. That huge friggin' lifter stage pinwheeling behind me. Alright, here's an orbit right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and increase the apoapse up to 80. There we go. 85 gives us more time to burn out to the moon. 70 is the min you want so that you're in orbit. 75 gives you a little bit more room for planning your orbit or your transfer burn up to the moon. 80 and 85 give you even a little bit more time. And since we've got a little bit lower thrust to weight on our transfer rocket here, kind of the carrier, the mini carrier that we're dealing with, I want a little bit more time to burn, which means I need to be a little bit higher. I'll explain that whenever we get up to it. Let's plan a maneuver node here. What is this? Oh, that's our other build aid thing. That's right. 85089. Put me on apoapse. This other mod you keep seeing sticking up over here is Precise Node. I only really use it for interplanetary transfers. You just don't need the same amount of precision when you're just going up to the moon. But it does come up every time I do a node. What is that? 849, 850. Good enough for government work. So now with our orbital insertion stage, we have a 4-second burn in 3 minutes 23 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and get lined up. Nice, thanks, Scott. Go ahead and get lined up for the burn here. and then we'll go ahead and fast forward it. What are the chances? I totally should have built action groups to turn off these